Hello, everybody. My name is Richard C. Wilson from the Family Office Club, and today I have with me here Pieter from Lucerne Capital. Welcome, Pieter.
Thanks for having me, Richard. Good to be here.
Sure, and I know you've been to one or two of our investor summits before, but can you explain a little bit about what Lucerne Capital does and what you're focused on and what makes you unique?
Yeah, we're very much, I founded Lucerne Capital about 18, 19 years ago, and we're very much a niche strategy focusing on mid-cap European stocks in mostly developed Western Europe. So, think Benelux, France, Italy, Germany, Scandinavia. So really, really core Europe.
Okay, and what city are you based in?
Well, we're based in, we have a research office in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and then we have an office in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Okay. And then from a macro perspective, why is the medium term an interesting time to invest in European equities?
I think, first of all, just to put Lucerne in perspective, over the decades, we've built up so many connections with industry executives that can give us an early read as to what's happening with the economy. For instance, we have very good connections in every country, from Italy to Norway, across Europe, with executives working at running temporary employment firms. And they are usually an early indicator of what's happening in the rest of the economy. So early cycle indicators.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious. So with the offices in Connecticut, I would imagine that a lot of U.S. investors that you may interact with have an equity allocation. Maybe their wealth advisors putting them into bonds and equities and kind of public market things. They might have an international bucket. Many of them probably have not thought to employ a European equity specific manager unless they're sophisticated enough that they're managing hundreds of millions of dollars in equities, has been my experience. Can you talk to that just a little bit about how you fit into an investor who maybe has had their blinders on to maybe having a brain like yours helping oversee their allocation to the EU part of their global equity, exposure?
Probably largest and smartest investor always says, okay, well, Europe represents close to 1/3 of the world economy, right? It's got, the 27 country EU bloc has 450 million inhabitants. If you look at the average income per capita, GDP per capita, it's almost equal to the United States. And in some countries like Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, it's higher than the United States. So there's no reason to sort of completely disregard that part of the world as a global equity investor, right? To just disregard 1/3 of the global economy, because there's a lot of economic activity going on. There's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of good companies, bad companies, etc. So there's just a lot of opportunities. And it so happens that, the more sophisticated investors use us for their European allocation. To sort of simplify it very much, for people, if they want to bucket us, we're very much long biased, and we're very much a risk-on type of investment. So if somebody thinks that the world is coming to an end, an investment in Lucerne Capital would not be the right investment.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. What about specifically ESG investments or sustainable companies? Like why is Europe thought of as a leader in this space? And is there one or two that you're most interested or excited about?
Yeah, it's actually funny, that you mentioned ESG, because there are not many areas where Europe is a leader. There's specific companies that are very good at things, right? I think, German engineering companies are leader in their field. ESG is sort of more, it crosses many industries. And what you've seen in Europe, and I think, particularly started in Scandinavia and Germany, was that it was really driven by government subsidies and regulation that really were focused on climate change. So it was a big political issue that then translated into regulation and a very favorable funding environment for sustainability, ESG type companies.
Right. Sure. Makes sense. And coming out of the pandemic, or at least going through the next phase or two where some people have the vaccine, and then eventually, how are you positioning your strategy to perform through those changes? Right now, I know your long-term focus, so probably the positions you've been building since March last year, kind of adjusting because you're not a short-term trader, but how are you looking at this kind of moderate term through the end of the pandemic?
Yeah, we're not short-term traders, but we're definitely, if you see, what's happening now with the vaccinations, really picking up rapidly in the United States. I think, Israel is a good example of what could happen in the rest of the world. And I think while Europe is a little bit behind, I think, we will get there where the majority of the population will be vaccinated. We also see it talking to companies that you see some inflationary pressure. So a lot of commodities like iron ore, copper, zinc, they're trading at all-time highs. So you see that already, the German automotive manufacturers are trying to pass that on to the consumer. So which then would lead you to believe that you could look at higher interest rates.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Not that I'm an equity expert like you, and I know close to nothing about European equities, but at least from my view of the family office forest, the smartest investors I know, they want to put their money in things that have been damaged because that's how you can realize some upside. And most of them don't have your expertise on the European equity markets, but for their domestic allocations, they've been building those positions since March for kind of this next 4 months. Hopefully,
Yeah.
maybe it's going to take 9 months. I know global travel might take a good year and a half, but at least domestic, activities seems to be getting very close to that upside realizing even the last couple of days here in the U.S. markets, at least. So that's definitely in line with the smartest family offices I know, macro-wise, trend-wise. So I appreciate you sharing that. And if somebody would like to speak with you for their endowment fund or family office, or pick your brain on a strategy or an approach they're building in their portfolio and learn more about Lucerne Capital, what's the best way to get in touch directly with you?
Best way to get in touch directly is through one of our investor relations people. So we have Claudia and Bryn on our investor relations side. I try to stick to my daily routine of spending 90% of my time talking to companies, talking to analysts, talking to research guys, working with our own analyst team. I always tell them, this is my cell phone number. If you have any questions, I'm always very transparent and open with investors.
Awesome. I appreciate your time here today. We don't have enough people in the Family Office Club that are focused on European investments, period, or European equities. I think what you're doing is very unique and different from all of the other participants here in our investor club that I know of, at least. So I appreciate your time here today. And if anyone needs any help connecting with Lucerne Capital and getting in touch with Claudia on their team, I'm happy to help coordinate that and do so through our team. Just let anyone here at the Family Office Club know, and we'll help get you two connected. Thank you, Pieter.
That'd be great. Thank you very much, Richard. Appreciate it.